This video is recommended to be watched because of the images used. I am missing images of this topic to illustrate the beginning, because there are none on Earth, and I have to generate them somehow here, basing myself on the best ones that I find there. The images that I will use here I have found on the web, and therefore I do not know what copyright they have, but they are necessary since we are talking about pictograms and symbols mostly. Gosia asked yesterday or the other day, why such a big deal with the symbols? It turns out that it is a language that many races can decipher, not so much as, say, a manuscript in Taigetan. What the archaeologists have told you is worse than rubbish. Many know these things and prefer to be silent. Others, like the Cairo Museum's curator of antiquities, Havas, is on the Federation's list of individuals to be arrested for crimes against humanity, for not releasing and controlling what is in Egypt. The official story is rubbish. There have been thousands of technologically advanced civilizations on Earth for millions of linear years. Forget all that about Precambrian, Jurassic, Iron Age, Bronze, etc. It's total rubbish. Dinosaurs? Not as they are painted. They are just species that are no longer. They are no longer here. But the Brontosaurus this, the Triceratops that, the Tyrannosaurus something else, that's garbage. They never existed. It is another NASA and Apollo 11. Let's not go in there at this point. Civilizations enter, grow, flourish, come to a point and disappear. It is a cycle of life of civilizations, some short, some longer, some local, some interstellar. The Lyrian human base is very ancient. It is lost in linear time. Lyrian is said to be a base, but it is known that they did not arise or evolve there, just that the continuity of the historical records of the Federation is lost there. Before the Lyrians, there are clear vestiges of advanced civilizations, even on Earth, but no documented connection. Most do not know why or who they were. Others, yes, they are known, but by us and the Federation, among others. Others, yes, they are known on Earth, but it's silenced. A large part of cave paintings are not what they seem. They are not ancient proto-art, hunting stories poorly drawn on the walls and ceilings of caves. It's encrypted data, left there by members of an advanced interstellar civilization, but with their race members chased in desperation, hidden in the caverns, trying to leave a trace that they existed, that they were there. They painted them with full knowledge of chemistry, of the duration of paints and pigments, for someone else to find them in the future and have the mind and knowledge to see past just people in loincloths chasing animals with a spear. That is encrypted and encrypted knowledge, so that it is not erased or classified as dangerous information. They painted that in despair, while many were dying. They painted them crying. It's a, "This happened to us, don't forget us, don't make the same mistakes." Why did they die? The reptiles hunted them. They came to Earth fleeing from them during the Great Expansion. Animals are stars and constellations. Humans with spears are vectors of movement. It contains constellations and star formations that can only be interpreted from space by another interstellar civilization. Contains maps, escape routes, stargate locations, people count, who they were, more detailed of the surface of the pre-Tiamat Earth and other planets, who hunted them, who they were, who talked to them. Now I understand more the importance of symbols, a universal intrastellar language among races. Yes, on Earth it is said that mathematics is the universal language, that all the civilizations of the universe would understand it. Not so, or in a limited way. As I have already explained, Base 10 mathematics is something human and wrong, incomplete. While 1 + 1 = 2 everywhere, as mathematical formulas increase in complexity, they begin to differ more and more, until they become completely incompatible and incomprehensible to many races. But if there is another universal language that all races understand, star maps. Representing stars as animals has always been customary, even today with constellations. Any race understands constellations and stars. And even today, the UFO formations are telling you where they are coming from. But you don't listen. You don't see beyond. Notice how the animals are coming out of the portal. Little humans are ships. Spears are vectors of movement. The luminosity of the star becomes the type of an animal. Their position with each other is important as well, but not everything can be viewed from Earth's perspective. Some are as they would look from another point in space, point which is also specified. Jumping forward, returning to Egypt. I told you that the pyramids weren't Orion, and I know you've been quite shocked. Don't think I am not aware of this. I have always loved this image. But that is deliberate misinformation, so that humans do not look further. Old misinformation, so that they only see Orion. Okay, so I have presented this to you. The star above is Anu. The one on the left is Enlil. The one below is Ea, the trinity of ancient Egypt. The stars are named in honor of the 3 founding gods of Egypt, but because in the minds of the Egyptians they come from there. The constellation Triangulum is at the top of the obelisk. That is why it is an obelisk. It's a look up. It is ancient Egyptian cult. It is everywhere in the world. It still rules. They are still the gods of earth. The elite know this. Ancient Egyptian cult, but to what? Just so I do not get lost. To their gods Anunnaki, Almighty God Anu, Ea, Yahweh, Enlil, Elohim. Asks Robert. Is that where the Anunnaki come from? Regressive reptiles? No, there is still more to say on this. We will explain later. With the best data I have, it was Thoth himself who came up with that pyramid configuration to match Orion. Other data shows me that it was Khufru who did it, but the dates do not coincide. The best ancient data tells us that they were aligned with Orion as a distractor. The documents are ancient Egyptian. The important ones are these 3 stars, as we already said. Okay, now look at this symbol of divinity. It is a person, a god inside what? He has wings and he is inside. It means starship. Asks Robert. Taygeta? Taygeta, yes, although it is also widely used in the Pleiades in general. In this case, it is from Asterope Elohi. This is a symbol of divinity found in almost all ancient cultures. Notice that the symbol of divinity is on top of something. Maya, there it is again, above a square door. Gilgamesh, going through the door, portal. In almost all ancient cultures, the sun in pictogram is represented as a square or rectangle, only using a solar disk when it is very specific, like the sun in general. In ancient Egypt, the symbol of the sun is a square. The pyramids look like a square seen from the air. It also symbolizes the space. And the circle with an X in the middle means exact place. But why did they make these symbols of doors? What did they want to transmit and to whom? It was no longer a society in despair, hiding. No, I have left that point behind to connect later. We are now in the golden age of Egypt, before classical Egypt. Here, and during the construction of the pyramids, it was a multicultural spaceport. The builders of the pyramids were not human. Each side of the pyramid measures 365 Egyptian measures, cubits in English. Each side represents the precession of a solar year. Returning to portals. Why square? Dimensional portal open in the sun. That's why. Message: to achieve progress and divinity, you must enter the portal in the sun. Now, what is this? Comments Robert. This one is big. Look at the shape of the supposedly missing part of the solar disk, the cleft in the stone. Why a bull? Asks Robert. Taurus? Yes, Taurus, but why Taurus? The image is an Apis bull. It's ancient, thousands and thousands of years old, and of stellar origin. It means Taurus constellation. It has a sun between its horns. That's solar worshipping on Earth. The serpent means many things: knowledge, feminine as linked to DNA, and the flight path of a starship. So it represents a starship coming out of the solar portal from Taurus constellation. Here you can see how old the Apis bull as a symbol for Taurus is. When the snake is on the forehead of someone, it means its head is like the sun divine, godlike, and knowledge comes out of its head. It does not represent reptilian races. Look at the black rectangle on his behind. That is not just any bull. It is Taurus. Now, what are those freckles around his eye? They are a group of stars. Stars that are there in that position in Taurus, the Pleiades. Again, I don't have a correct translation. You have to pass this group of stars when you travel from Earth towards Pleiades constellation. Other bull Taurus in cave paintings contain the Pleiades on their shoulder. That is why they are Taurus or Toro Apis. Okay, what is this now? It is called the Tree of Life, but it's not a plant, only as the symbol. It is a constellation, and the flowers are stars. It maintains the portal from which all life has supposedly appeared. The problem here resides in that I cannot find any human star chart with that constellation, but it's in the general direction of Pegasus. Check this out. Above is the symbol of divinity, which is essentially being able to fly. What is below is the portal as in Tijuanaco. The frame is not flowers, they are stars. The divinity symbol above represents what? Gods, which Enlil, Anu, Ea. Where are they? In the constellation of Triangulum. What is just below the constellation of Triangulum? A dimensional portal that is within a group of 19 stars, 19 flowers, in the direction of M33 Andromeda. They give you the location of another portal. Let's return to Egypt. Ishtar, or Isis. She has wings, but is not flying. She is seated. What is she seated on? 2 lions. 2 sphinxes, like the 2 that were in Egypt. Lions, Egypt. Lions, sun, solar god. It means that Ishtar was a goddess to the Egyptians. What does she have in her hands? Egyptian symbols of eternal life. Eternal life temporal manipulation. Ishtar has two, one in each hand. Why does she have bird's feet? Because she also has wings, because Ishtar flies. Owls mean dimensional portal. That's why the elite also perceive them this way. Why? It means that Ishtar dominates the portals. She has one on each side, watching over her. M97. Modern scientists do not accept it, but they are two wormholes, entrances and exits. Close up. They are not owls. Ishtar. Tell me, what bird flies sitting? Comments Robert. One that uses the ship. Ishtar has her wings spread. She is flying. What is this? Comments Robert. The feathered serpent. Flying one too. Let's go back to Tiwanaku. What does this solar god have in his hands? Clearer here. Comments Robert. Two snakes. Why does it have an owl face? Take a closer look at what they are. They are two birds. He has two long birds in his hands, Quetzalcoatl. Why does Ishtar also have a snake on her head? She has 9 snakes on her head, because she holds the knowledge of the 9 sisters of the Pleiades. And it is not a snake, it is represented as a snake that looks feathered. Head, sun, as can be seen in the crown of thorns of Jesus Christ. What is that feathered snake? Here it's more obvious. I present to you Quetzalcoatl. Comments Robert. They are ships. Ships with high-energy magnetic turbine technology leave contrails. Feathered snake, spacecraft leaving contrail because it is in atmospheric flight. Palenque. Part of the same. Look below the solar god, the same, propulsion. Not only was Ishtar traveling seated. More portals. Asks Robert. Does this one work? Yes, but it doesn't depend on stone or anything on Earth. That only marks the location when activated from another site. All these portals are called Sun Gate or similar. Quetzalcoatl resting. If we go there, what would happen with the portal activated? Nothing if it's not activated. You would go somewhere else. Where? It depends on where the portal has been programmed to take you. But mostly they are a message. Go to the sun to escape from here. Comments Robert. But how can we get to the sun? With propulsion, with a feathered serpent ship. Go to the sun to escape from here. Here where? Where is here? From this solar system. As I have told you before, not all interstellar races can travel through space, creating their own wormholes. Most still depend on portals and wormhole maps. Not us, as our technology overcomes this problem. Who has left this message to whom? Go into the sun to escape from here. The previous civilization. Message for the future. For the technological civilization that manages to see the message. For the civilizations that exist here, with enough development to see this. Some people on Earth are awakening to this knowledge, but they have it vastly incomplete. The defenders of Kaal as the astronaut and not just a king of Palenque. There are other researchers who are also in this, such as von Daniken, among few others. But they don't understand the stellar perspective. The portal below does not exist. It is only a stone. But it marks the place where it would open if activated from another side. The portals of the sun are a message. Go to the sun to find the portal. They are not necessarily the portal. Comments Robert. Okay, do you know if any have been activated in recent times? Portals? Yes, they are constantly activated, but not those inside tourist sites. It is a message to whoever has the mind to see it, not for someone or for a specific race. It is going to the sun to find the portal. The other portals have nothing to do with it, because they do not depend on the sun. They are just part of another technology. However, they retain their square or rectangular shape, which means in stellar and ancient language, portal place. Like the monolith from 2001 Space Odyssey, also a portal. Another symbol used for portal, not solar, is a spiral. It is used in many places, even here among races. It is found in countless cave paintings. Notice that all the portals of this class have the same shape and the same dimensions. The monolith fits inside the door of Tijuanaco. The fit is exact. Comments Robert. Yes, the same proportions. And the black color would represent the portal hole, I guess. So if someone were to cross that obelisk, they would appear in another place. Or that is just the exit of a portal, not the entrance. Yes, a cube. Entry and exit portal, according to the frequency with which it is approached. 2 times 4 times 9 ratio of proportions of these portals. Thinking. I still don't understand how to use the portal. If I want to cross it, where am I going? Where do I put the settings? I refer to one of these square doors, for example, rectangular rather. The portals like this cannot be activated from there. They only mark where the exit would be if someone else with that technology activated them. Why there? Because they obey places of planetary ley lines in which the energy is more amplified by the same energy process of the pyramids. That's what I mean. Who activates them? Or how to know from here where they will go and if they are active? I speak of portals as entrances here. You don't have them there. You don't control them. That is why they are telling you in other places that you need a ship to get to the portal. So there is no entry once on the earth where I could control where I go, but reptiles use them and decide where they go. Those are other portals like CERN. To understand the relevance of what I have said here today, you need to have an interstellar race mentality, not seeing things from the angle of looking at the ancient ones as less, as underdeveloped. Technologically speaking, and above all spiritually, they were far above the current terrestrial civilization. Comments Robert. Káal'el, you were also in Egypt, right?
Yes, this symbol that they call the key of life is actually inspired by something more tangible and simple. It really means temporal manipulation. That's why it handles life as eternal. The symbol looks like and is held in the hand just like a ship's joystick. The fact that you hold it in your hand means that you are holding a ship. It is the symbol of the command of a ship. Once you understand all this, it is not difficult. It becomes rather difficult to think as before.
Asks Robert. Is that a part of your ship? That will be the symbol, but in a photograph. Thank you. This is amazing. Awesome. This is a fighter plane, but from Earth.
They carry virtually the same joystick, a Suzy and a Spitfire. The exact origin of this symbol. That they deny that? Whatever. They say that there are several hieroglyphs engraved, one on top of the other, and that it is a pareidolia, a helicopter, a ship, and two spaceships, or a plane and a spaceship. But we say that they are two ships.
Asks Robert. Or it could be a submarine?
Yes, although we say it is a boat, it can be a submarine.
Asks Robert. Wow, is that you? I'm not referring to the grey one, but a big one.
I can't tell if the image is real or not. This is a matrix explanation of the glyphs.
But there were greys in Egypt?
It was not at all unusual for there to be greys in Egypt.
Asks Robert. And how do you really feel now, after so many adventures and time jumps?
One gets used to a strange life. A life that few people, even in 5D, understand. You don't really have an identity, because you lose it with so much jumping around. But it is something that defines you later as your identity, and you are fine and at peace with it. I would also see it as having access to multiple timelines of myself. Not having an identity becomes what defines your identity. So you have attributes that are not shared by other people who are supposedly of the same species or race.
Do you feel understood by other Taigetans?
One transcends that or that need. It is understood why you aren't understood, and with that understanding comes the acceptance of the situation. It can be equal to or greater than some situations between humans. One transcends the need for companionship in that regard.
I have more proof, but this is what I have for now to demonstrate that Atlantis, or the Egyptian and Sumerian civilizations, were of world dominance. Reference image known to you. Notice that she is standing on two lions that symbolize Egypt, as I have already told you. Although I don't have time to look for more images right now, there are more with characters standing on two lions. This from the Egyptian Sumerian side. This man is found all over the world. It means holding the knowledge of flight and starships, one in each hand. They are not snakes. They are birds. But long birds like snakes, referring to this. That's the snake coming out of the Apis bull and the heads of Egyptian royals. Representation of a ship in atmospheric flight. That's the Y of Tiwanaku. The solar portal with the key above the man, the same man that is represented in Sumeria as here. It's the same one. Same here again. Above you said, I have more evidence, but this is what I have on hand now to demonstrate that Atlantis, or the Egyptian and Sumerian civilizations, were of world dominance. Are they the same? Atlantis and Egyptian civilization? No, Gosha. Just that the civilizations are connected. Egypt was federation. Atlantis, reptile confederation. We have not yet got into the topic of civilizations, because there have been more than what they tell you, many more. Here, they are all telling you about the portal in the sun and how to get to it. Every one of them, except the last one, pointing to the portal in the sun. Comments Robert. I'm looking for one where everyone has blue eyes. It's hard to figure out all this. What does how to get to the portal of the sun mean? Well, difficult for the normal humans, I think. Not if you have a ship, as they assume you do, if you know how to interpret that as a portal, and not as primitive religious garbage as they say it is. That's what I mean. It is for a civilization who already has ships and that knows about this stuff. They are messages left by the previous ones, so that only interstellar races can see and interpret the data. Fascinating. Asks Robert. This is a planetary civilization? Not one. Several interconnected planetary civilizations. In the last one, the solar disk with enormous wings. This represents a ship. The solar disk is sometimes accompanied by one or two cobras or snakes, symbolizing we come out of the sun. It also represents a discoidal ship. You just have to understand that what the author of those photos has not mentioned is that the time frame is out of date. In other words, the constructions of those buildings did not occur simultaneously. Cobras or snakes symbolize knowledge and wisdom, for their symbolism of or control over DNA. Note the conjunction wisdom, knowledge, DNA, spaceship, as in wisdom and knowledge alters DNA. Mind control or gene change using wisdom and knowledge, not test tubes. That's human interpretation, because that's all they see, because that's all they know. They project themselves, humans, but it does not reflect the truth. To change a particular gene, which is actually associated with a group of genes, not just one, with a goal to cause a change in the individual or group of individuals, a precise stimulus of belief perception form is used, which has been studied and known that would alter or bring about the desired change. But it varies from individual to individual, as your individual perception varies. But that's the basic theory. Swaruu, something I don't understand. You said they left these symbols for the stellar civilizations to decipher. But when have they left them? I want to put it in some chronology. I understand that it was when they were already conquered by reptiles and escaping, right? I imagine they already lost the star connection. When was this? It's difficult to put it in chronology, because there isn't any. It's all mixed up. It's a constant. Look at the solar portal. That's the way out. And also, another element is missing that I have not had the opportunity to share with you. That there were more planetary civilizations, and their influence is there among known civilizations, today archaeological sites. That image is not related to genetics. The bags, yes. The tree of life, no. The watch is a watch. The bags are containers of knowledge to be shared or sown. It symbolizes a bag with seeds that are being spread through the already tilled field. At that time, that's how seeding took place, with a bag of seeds. In itself, it is what we do here today, sowing ideas, doubts, concepts that will grow and modify society. And the watch, it is not divided into 12 hours because they did not use the same form of measurement. It has 9 sections, which is a mathematical basis. But it represents the 9 planets of the Pleiades, from which those Elohim, represented with or as the bearded ones, come from. Wings, they can fly. They are gods, ships. Watch, they are technological. They dominate time. Missing here another equivalent symbol used, the ring portal. They have snakes on their heads, which means they have knowledge, wisdom. Also, the head is the sun, and the snakes are ships, portal knowledge, because knowledge comes from the portal, because the Elohim came through the portal to give that knowledge. And he has a pineal gland in his hand, because he has a connection with the ethereal, like other symbology in the head, feathers, for example. And because they manipulate the pineal gland. Pineal gland in the hand of someone means he controls the connection to the other realms. Being with wings can fly. Being with wings only on the head or feathers, as an Indian chief, only the head can fly, meaning has a connection with beings of higher planes, spiritual connection, and is an enlightened being. To clarify something about Ishtar, it is one more example of a positive character who was flipped in favor of the negatives. Cream and lies have been added to it to make the concept work for them. And what is said about Ishtar has little or nothing to do with the woman who really existed. So-called scholars believe that human genetics came from her as a progenitor. The truth is that she is the one who has altered the genes. She is the geneticist, but not the one that negatively altered them. The one who went in to try to correct the problem. The one who tried to liberate the repressed ones from the frequencies of the newly imposed matrix. Giver of knowledge. In the book of Genesis, the one who gave the apple of knowledge to Adam, Adamic race, Homo Atlantis. A young woman who gave knowledge, freedom, and technology. An expert geneticist, and who flew seated, and you only flew sitting on a chair in a ship. The gods of old are almost always related to space explorers, many of them of our race. Ishtar, as it is painted in history, even the one written by the Egyptians, never existed. The concept of it was based on visitors. Yes, Ishtar and Osiris were people. But the rest is cream added by the ancients themselves, because that was done a lot at that time. An example of this are the Greeks and their exaggerations about stories that did happen. For example, Medusa did exist, but it was not as the Greeks portray it. Medusa is none other than Ishtar herself again. But it is symbolism taken literally. And why do reptilians and Masons use the Ishtar symbol? Because they are Atonists or worshippers of the sun. But that comes from the Enkis branch. Judaism is not monotheistic, that is false. But why do they use the Ishtar symbol? Is it true that they do? Because it is one of the bases in Egypt that they still use. Yes, they do. But black one. Notre Dame is a temple to black Ishtar. Representation of inevitable duality arising in lower densities. Opposites. One cancelling out the other, until only one remains. The negative black Ishtar is also worshipped on earth under many names, but it blends in with the white one. It is more of a concept seen or translated by the onlooker. Asks Robert, what was Ishtar doing on earth? The reason she has been on earth was to remove the lunar matrix. It was the Federation that imposed it, using a combat-damaged biosphere of the Andromedans. It was temporary. And we proceeded to withdraw lunar control over Earth. That was the mission. But the invading reptiles had already made plans to use said matrix to their convenience and attacked us. And once again, we had to withdraw. The pyramids were part of the system to raise the frequency of the planet and were part of a pyramidal network all placed on planetary ley lines for greater effect and placed at strategic points throughout the planet. Inanna is a name also used as a reference to Ishtar, and roughly translated, it means the one that favors and the one that gives. The problem is that today, the name Isis is badly associated, so I don't suggest using it. Today, it not only refers to the terrorist group, but it is a reference to the Black Ishtar that the Cabal worships. Asks Robert, what does the word Egypt mean? It wasn't called that back then. It was only known as the center, referring to the center of the world or as the capital, because it was seen as a base, not a place or city. In itself, it is allusive to two lions: Egypt, which comes from two great kingdoms, Egypt of the Lower Nile and Egypt of the Upper Nile, where Cairo is Giza and Alexandria to the north. That is why there were two sphinxes, of which only one remains. Asks Robert, and the city of Cairo already existed? Or what was the capital of that metropolis? There were two capitals, Alexandria and Cairo? It was officially Thebes, but the capital was constantly moving. But what is taken as the metropolis was Giza, or the center, nowadays Cairo. But later it was Alexandria for its position as a naval base or post in the Mediterranean. Asks Robert, where did Ishtar live? Ishtar lived mostly in her ship. That's why she was also perceived as a deity. She lived in the sun, because the ship for the Egyptians shone like the sun, which is only superheated atmosphere. But she also lived in buildings or palaces of that time, which the sands of time have already erased. Everything in the Nile Valley, more than anything. It was not a single place. Could you tell us approximately years? At what time was Ishtar there? Years. 10,500 BC. Impossible to pin down. Asks Robert, what does it mean? It is not a symbol. It is a tool. North, south, east, west. That's an astronomical measurement device. It is placed on another disk that represents the sun and gives you your position in the sky from the position in which you are. It is a GPS. Comments Robert. Wow, like a compass, GPS. Stellar navigation, but of positions of the stars, of constellations. That symbol was transformed into the cross of Christ, where supposedly he was nailed. Christ is the sun, with its crown of thorns, the race, and is in the center of the cardinal points, north, south, east, west. Same symbol, just transformed to meet an agenda. Asks Robert, stellar navigation, astrotheology. I mean, the Nazis had the knowledge or some knowledge of all this that we are talking about? Yes, And this knowledge has been passed around among the members of the secret societies. It is not something that I am inventing, nor is it a theory. It was just a tool, because they are Elohim measurement tools. Comments Robert. In other words, it is not something aesthetic, and that's it. There is something deeper in all that symbolism. Yes. Asks Robert. But what did the Nazis want that knowledge for? Have they left outside Earth yet at that time? The Nazis used that as a symbol. This time, yes, it is a symbol of wisdom, that one is a master of something. That is why it was a medal for the high elements of the Nazi party and the German military. As best represented with Earth devices as in 4 sextants, ocean navigation. Devices placed together, marking 4 directions. It was a handheld device used to read star charts. Manual tool. Does it look like in the image? It looks very much like on that image. Very basic. It was basically a ruler with a calculus bar and a distance measuring tool on each corner. Nowadays, they are no longer used, but there is one in the museum on board this craft. The Nazis used the Iron Cross as a symbol of being special, of power, because it made them be in likeness to the gods of old. It is used by the Queen of England and the Pope also, as well as the US military. They manufactured their Hannibal ships and were planning to reach Aldebaran, Sindriel. The data I have tell me that they did not get out through the Van Allen bands. But with all the technology that the Elohim had, wasn't that GPS a little primitive for them? It is not primitive. It is high technology. That is just the measurement, the device or the key. You need to place it on a so-called solar disk, but that contains the celestial vault of the constellations. It's a hologram technology. It's a little computer. Asks Robert. And this technology was owned by the Nazis? They didn't have that, but they did have the symbology. The Iron Cross is an old Babylonian symbol, and it's a starship navigation tool. But it's off-world, and that's why it's been adopted on Earth. You can see it again with the Nazis. Notice how the Germans, Nazis, and the British Crown use the very same symbol, not by chance. The cross itself, as an instrument, is like a manual sextant for a ship. Manual sextant? What is that? Asks Robert. Like a navigator? To fix position. Comments Robert. Yes, that, what the sailors use, to guide yourself in the sea and orient yourself. An old GPS, yes. The cross works as a technological means. It contains north, south, east, and west, but it refers to 3 dimensions in space. But it is used mostly against a map being over a planet, whatever it is. It helps to fix manually your position on the horizon. For the cross, the horizon is the galactic plane that you know as the Milky Way, from how it is seen from Earth. According to Greek legends, someone who was spreading the milk through the sky. Only in the crown or in Nazi symbology, they are just that, symbologies. But it's like wanting to say that they are theirs. But it is not so exactly. because those instruments are still used today by countless races. Modern ones contain the map in the form of a hologram. You take the X between your fingers and the star map appears in front of you. You turn it with your fingers and it gives you your position. Useful for support. But on spaceships, they are rarely used anymore. It's just support. Something you can wear over yourself, hanging around your neck sometimes, or as jewelry. And you still carry your maps wherever you go, even on foot. The spaceships, of course, have it incorporated into the navigation systems and do not need that instrument. They end up like sextants on modern ships. GPS and all that is used, but they still carry paper maps or charts and sextants. Even in ships such as modern submarine aircraft carriers, entertainment boats, or container ships. Asks Robert. And does the cross have to have that shape? The one with the crown? What ships do you mean? Yours or human ones? In the circle, 8 plus 1 in the center, 9, Pleiades M45. What's above there is a ship, not a bird. That is a starship. Human sea ships, yes. The cross has that shape as the image indicates because it gives the circular or parabola planes as a sextant too. A human sextant is 1/4 of a non-human sextant, because the human sextant only has to measure a single plane, and the non-human has to measure 3 planes plus its own, where the spaceship is currently moving. The origin of those symbols on Earth, the cross, all coming from a simple stellar chart reading tool. But it's what it symbolizes, not what it is. From this old ancient brotherhood in Egypt, the Illuminati came out from. But how can you be certain that's where the symbol and its meaning comes from? I mean, is it possible to track the origin of some of those symbols? I mean, who used it first and how and when? Simple, very simple, because we remember. That's very relevant. Also, because it is documented. Humans have old documents held in secret societies that talk about this. This is part of the knowledge that is, or was, forbidden for the commoner.
This subject is critical. It changes the whole concept of everything about the knowledge that is falsely given to you by the controlling cabal. It changes everything. The history of the Earth. The fact that it is known that there were countless other interstellar civilizations on Earth. That the ancient peoples were not backward, as they were more advanced than the present civilization itself. These are objects, relics, and ruins that can only be understood from the perspective of someone stellar, and not just from any star. This information changes the world. It dissolves the cabal and its lies. It exposes them to the light. It gives back to the people of Earth their true history.